Hi, I'm Anthony. We're here with Kapp's Kitchen, and Happy New Year, everybody. It is New Year's Eve, so we're going to make some challah bread for dinner this evening. It's a traditional Jewish recipe, but we like to eat it as well, even though we're not Jewish, right? So we've got Christy on the camera, who you may have seen at the beginning. Wave hi, Christy. All right, so let's get started. To make the recipe, we have our flour, we have sugar, we have some salt, we have yeast, and then we have our wet ingredients of 2 eggs and 1 egg yolk, and we'll actually use the extra white later on as well. We have some melted butter, and we have some warm water. So to begin with, I'm going to mix together our dry ingredients. They don't have to be really evenly incorporated. Um, because the mixer will actually do a lot of the work. And we're actually going to let the mixer knead it all as well. All right, so there's our dry ingredients mixed together. So now I'm going to add our wet ingredients to the bowl. I'll set aside that 1 egg yolk. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So we've got our 2 eggs and 1 extra egg yolk in here. Make sure we get all that out. We've got our melted butter, which we'll pour in. Get all that. Whoop. And then we have our water. And I'm just going to kind of break up the egg yolks and give it a little bit of stir. And the mixer, again, will do the rest for us there. Alright, so now we're going to add in our dry ingredients just on top of it. Pretty much just dump it in. Really simple. Nice, rich recipe. Oops. Don't forget the dough hook. It's easier to do that now. And we'll put the dough hook on. Now we're going to let this mix together for 5 minutes inside of here. So I'm actually going to set the timer to help us out. Now, while this is mixing, and you can see it's really starting to come together already. You can see it's starting to come together. So we'll just let that go. It only takes a few minutes. We'll look at that here in a moment. Now, one thing that we like to do to use to raise our bread is basically a graduated bowl. And so this one can measure up to 4 quarts or 4 liters. And when we put the dough in it, we'll spray it with some baking spray. Usually we'll come up maybe about to 1 quart, and if it doesn't, but what this does, it makes it really easy to see whenever our dough has risen to double in size. So much easier than just putting it in a bowl and guessing. This gives you a really precise way of seeing it. But you need to spray it with baking spray. Spray your plastic wrap that you're going to cover it with baking spray as well, because you don't want the top of the bread to dry out. It won't rise as well then. So we'll do that here in just a minute. Usually, challah bread is also covered with either poppy seeds or sesame seeds, depending on preference. Today we're not going to do either of those. I like it just plain. We're going to make garlic bread out of it tonight when we have our New Year's Eve dinner. So let's take a look at the dough. And we can see it's coming together very nicely. It's just got a couple of minutes left on the timer. So once that's done, again, I'm going to pull it out into our graduated bowl here. Put a little bit of spray in there. Now, I mentioned also the egg white earlier. We're going to add just a tablespoon of water to the egg white. And we'll kind of give that a little bit of a mix. Now, the egg yolk is, or the egg white, I should say, is what's going to give the bread that really nice dark crust once it bakes up. It also helps the braids that we'll be making later on kind of stick together as well. So we've got just about 10 more seconds. So we'll pause the timer there, and we'll take a look at a couple things once I turn this off here. So it's come together, it's nice and soft. Again, this is a very rich bread, and I'm actually going to let it go a little bit longer because it hasn't quite reached the stage that I like. So one thing we like to do with our bread is to make sure it gets to what we call a window pane. and we can see this is not quite there, so I'm going to let it knead a little bit longer. So y'all come back. We'll be live later on to take a look at our challah bread and how to braid it. So we're back with the challah bread. So it has been probably about 2.5 hours later, I guess, and the bread has now risen. I've punched it down once, covered it back up, and we let it rise again. So it really started out about here on the mark, and so now it's almost up to past the 1/4 mark. So now we're going to form and shape the bread, which means braiding it, since it is a challah bread, which is traditional. So first thing I'm going to do is a little flour on our work surface, nice clean counter here, and we use this little what is it, Christy?
It's like a tea diffuser.
Tea diffuser, I guess. And it works really good for flouring the surface as long as you have flour in it. And I can grab it properly. So we get a good amount of flour, but not too much, not too little. Alright, so now we will dump the bread out. And we'll get a little bit of a knead. And I've sprayed this bowl, of course, so the dough actually comes out nicely. Put that off to the side. And we're going to just start forming it by just pinching it, bringing it up to the middle. And we're actually going to make 2 braids with this bread. Make sure it's nice and dry on the outside. Makes it much easier to work with. And it kind of deflates any, see there was a big bubble there, so it kind of deflates any of those big bubbles. Now we're going to not divide it in half. We're going to really kind of divide it into 1/3 and 2/3, about there, because we need maybe a little bit more. About 18 ounces of bread, and that feels about right, and then 9 ounces of bread dough for both of the braids. So just mush those together. With this one, we're going to divide this into 3. Kind of just eyeball it. You can weigh it out if you want. Sometimes I do that whenever I'm shaping bread. Christy knows we made rolls for Thanksgiving. We shaped them into 2.5 ounces, or 2 ounces exactly. How many rolls do we make? 9 dozen rolls or something like that. Alright, so then we're going to take each piece of dough and we're going to start forming it and just check for evenness. I think this one needs a little bit more. Put that one there. We're going to form this into snakes. Yes. If you've ever been in kindergarten,
or played with Play-Doh.
Dishwashers are done. If you've ever played with Play-Doh, you just make snakes. Okay, just kind of keep forming it. Alright, I'll just get those a little more stretch. Alright, so now we have our 3 braids. They're not perfect, but they'll be alright, or our 3 strands. So to make braids, the easiest thing to do is Just bring it up to the top, and you're going to start, and I'm not sure how I'm going to explain this. I've gotten really good at doing it pretty fast. The first thing you do is you take the one on the outside and bring it over. If you've got little girls, you just braid like you're braiding their hair. So you brought this one over to the middle, then you bring the one from the outside. You just keep bringing them from the outside to the middle, and then finally make sure you give it a good pinch on the ends. And there we have one part that's braided. Stretch it out a little bit. That looks pretty nice, doesn't it? And we're going to go ahead and put it on our pan that we've got prepared. We've laid down a piece of parchment, and whoops, kind of came undone there. All right, and now we're going to do the same thing with our other smaller piece. All right, and just get a little stretch again. I usually try to put the longer one in the middle. So again, you just take the three, push them down, give them a good pinch at the top, and you just bring them over, and you make a very quick braid. Really simple, and it looks really nice. Alright, so now we have our egg wash. If you remember from our video earlier today, we had a egg white left over and 1 tablespoon of water in here. Now to make the smaller braid stick to this, we're going to just get a little bit of the egg wash. This has been in the refrigerator since then, so we're going to take that on our brush. We're just going to brush it on here. It gives us a nice glue. We can take this and just set it on top. Give a little form to it as well. Those ends are nice and tucked under. And we're going to take our plastic wrap from earlier, and we're going to just use it again and put over the top. So this is going to rise once more. So this is going to actually be the 3rd rise for this bread. And once it increases by a 1/3, then we'll bake it up. We'll brush it with another brush of egg wash on top to give that nice dark color to the challah bread, and we'll see what that looks like after a little bit. Alright, so that's all done now. I'm going to clean up, and we'll come back one more time to brush this off, and then we'll put it in the oven, and then we'll put pictures up later once we take it out of the oven as well. So again, make sure that you like and you subscribe to Kapp's Kitchen here on Facebook. You can also find us on Instagram, and maybe coming soon we might be on YouTube as well. Thanks.